We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. What is happening in crypto? I will tell you. This could be one of the biggest events in the history of crypto as far as I'm concerned. We have a sovereign pretty much giving up on all the things that they were doing that were capital markets negative. One. Two, we have this idea after watching, the decoupling for 3 days that any macro hedge fund, any mutual fund, anybody cannot sit around and ignore this. They can't. They can't ignore the ecosystem, which is too cheap, which is why things are moving in 20% increments because the market as a whole is largely suppressed. This includes ETH especially, and Solana along with it. So we're going to take a look at, the nature of the reversal. We're going to look at the charts. We'll go over some news. There's actually one big news item that I think also helped ignite the market. But here it is, folks. And I know you've been listening to this from me. And this is why, frankly, I never get bearish. I know you have day traders. I know the market can go down. I know it can correct. I know there are negative things that can drive the market down, which it did. But what I like to focus on is all the reasons why you should stay in, because a lot of people left. A lot of people left. A lot of people thought it was winter, and boom, that was the low. Everyone out, everyone back in again. The reason you don't get bearish is, frankly, you always miss the low. You're always waiting to sell another uptick. You're always waiting for it to go down a little more. You're always, I'm saying I'm not to trading types. They're always trying to get too cute. There's always one more down move so they can get long. Everyone likes it tidy, and it never is. Then out of nowhere, lightning strikes. Welcome to the mega bull market. Mega bull market. Okay. Let's welcome who's here, and then we will go through the news. We have Taz Pinball, Jav, Arendon, Warmon, Thomas, right? Steve, my bag's slowly recovering. Yes, by the way, sorry about the time change today. Had to do some routine medical maintenance. We're all good to go. Thank you for understanding. Okay, let's rock some important information. So, $280 million worth of Bitcoin shorts liquidated in the past 24 hours. It's like $200 million stupid chips. Who in God's name was short Bitcoin? I have absolutely no idea. Beijing in panic mode over tariffs, Chinese banks, etc. They got to print. They built too many factories. They speculated in real estate. The factories were built with government subsidized loans. This Bitcoin ETF out of Hong Kong, and again, I've said this, and I know I've been talking in a vacuum for like a month. This Bitcoin ETF in Hong Kong is going to be enormous. And as I've said, they're drowning in debt, as are we. The tariff talk will die down, as we have discussed. When tariff talk died down in 2017, Bitcoin doubled. It happened 3 times. And this is no exception, right? The hallmark of 2017 and today was that people didn't care what they paid. They didn't care. They just wanted in. Now, until it was stupid up at 20K. But in the meantime, from 3K to 20K, they didn't care. It's like, ooh, 100K is resistance. No, it's not. It's just a number. And it doesn't even register as that in the Bitcoin ETF. No one's going to care. It's like, oh, yeah, they didn't care what they paid for NVIDIA. Why are they going to care what they pay for Bitcoin? So the China situation is the tariffs showed how fragile our situation is, meaning the dollar needs to go lower. Housing's going to crash. Rates are going to come down. And the Chinese system could crack at any moment. That smells like the Satoshi white paper to me. Meanwhile, back at the Uncle Sugar Ranch, we have a favorable SEC chairman now. Okay, so great. Gensler's gone. However, that's not the biggest piece of news. This is the biggest piece of news. So, this character, Howard Lutnick, who has been frankly terrible on TV talk shows, has been hanging around the White House almost to the point where he wore out his welcome. Didn't do a good job on messaging on tariffs, but people forget that he's a billionaire because he runs Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald is essentially the biggest treasury bond broker that helps institutions trade with each other. It's huge. Goes back to the start of modern Wall Street. Now, Mr. Lutnick has seen 3 months in government? 3 months. And then all of a sudden he says, guess what? I'm borrowing money, even though the bond market's locked up and we're buying $3 billion of Bitcoin right now. I've seen enough of Uncle Sugar. I've seen enough. I'm buying $3 billion right now. Give me a price for the debt. I don't care. Give me a price for Bitcoin. I don't care. A government insider wants to get gigalong Bitcoin. That was the law. That was it. And in many ways, that's all you need to know. Like, you want to know why all these altcoins like SUI, all this Web3 infrastructure that was worth collectively less than $1 trillion. Less than $1 trillion. This is why. Guys look at this and go, oh my God, I have to market buy this. He's not the only one. Every single macro hedge fund. Forget about the macro hedge funds. What about the crypto hedge funds? It was winter 6 days ago. Now they have to literally market buy it. Orange Man says tariffs on China will come down. Yeah, you're right. Because their system's going to blow up. And if their system blows up, they'll unload our treasuries. So you can have mutually assured destruction, or we can work something out. Right? And again, Cantor Fitzgerald raising $3 billion. They want to compete with MicroStrategy. Like the Sailor imitation game, these hedge funds that are short MicroStrategy, oh my God, they are going to get wiped out. Now, so Elon, big mistake with the chainsaw. Big mistake. Should have been a lot more subtle about this, but he wanted to be famous. He wanted to be out in the limelight. He wanted to be an attention hog and scream at everybody in staff meetings. And then guess what? The deep state hired underemployed people for $500 a day to go out and basically vandalize Tesla cars. Most likely driving up insurance costs for existing Tesla holders and crushing sales. So his earnings are horrible and he's out. And that was predictable. That was predictable, right? As soon as they started the thing with the Teslas, I was like, this guy's out. He's out, and so's Doge. So you got $150 billion that they cut, and then Congress is still spending a trillion every 5 months. And the only way that ever stops is if the bond market starts it, or if they get together and try to do something. But you're like, what does this mean for crypto? Dude, Bitcoin, right? The only credible, decentralized form of money, and Bitcoin is the rising tide that lifts all boats. We got to get off this thing that Bitcoin is somehow boring. We got meme coined in our head, and meme coins are fine, right? We got meme coined into thinking that Bitcoin was not exciting. Got myself an orange Lambo at Costco, the last one, to remind myself that Bitcoin is exciting. Okay, Elon out, government spending, Bitcoin up. Elon says he will return to Tesla next month. Yeah, okay, bro. Per Tesla board of directors and the mutual funds that own the stock. Get out of there. You want to be a politician? Leave Tesla and go be a politician. Okay. Eric Trump on CNBC. Reinventing a financial system. This is also an important point after what just happened in Legacy. Bitcoin maximalists have this thing called the Bitcoinization of Legacy, right? The Bitcoinization. I don't know. Basically, Bitcoin being incorporated and used as a part of bond issuance, preferred stock, payment systems. It's going to happen. It's happening right now. Okay. RFK out front, getting the stuff out of your food. Notice the administration changing the narrative. Okay. Sugar is more addicting than whatever. Again, this is a big Bitcoin guy too. Don't doubt that they start trotting him out talking about these things, even if it's off the cuff on a podcast. Okay. But Elon says he's not stepping down from Doge. Okay. Congress is going to continue to spend anyway. Now let's talk about Michael Saylor. So what does Michael Saylor know? He knows that they're coming to do the strategic Bitcoin reserve. And they've botched this tariff thing to such a degree, at least with the optics of it or the narrative, that they have to return to Bitcoin. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to restore their credibility. Here's what the far right is saying about the current administration. So the Pentagon's got problems because of scandals with DMs. Cabinet is pushing conflict in the Middle East. We already have a conflict in the Middle East. We can't get a deal in Eastern Europe. Okay. We had a trade conflict and then we backed out of it, but it crashed the economy and the market anyway. There are people still in the country who shouldn't be here. Doge cut less than 60 billion. 1,500 students are being, deported for certain free speech items. 6 of 8 Ivy League schools have got major problems. And it goes on. And this guy is going to be on Alex's show on Friday. So this administration has to change the subject quickly. And this market, who's the seller? Like I go back to this question. I've been saying this. I know that, loyal listeners have been hearing this for quite some time. Who's the seller in this market? There isn't any. That's why it's gapping at 10, 20% of the time. There's no seller. There's nobody to meet the crypto hedge funds. There's nobody. There's nothing in Bitcoin. And there's probably even less in Ethereum. They're selling the uptick in Ethereum, thinking Solana is the next big thing. It probably is. But I mean, you can't believe the nature of Ethereum with these layer 2s, what you can run on it. And they're going to run all the finance because that whole system locked up, right? Not to mention the fact that, nobody could borrow money. You don't think they can do DeFi on ETH and Solana or Sui? Look at the price action. You tell me, right? I've been saying this and saying it, right? But it doesn't resonate until it actually moves. Now, XRP eyes 60% surge. Okay. People are saying that whatever happens with the SEC affects XRP. Okay. XRP donations, second biggest to the Orange Man. Now, XRP Ledger Foundation spots crypto stealing backdoor in their code. Okay. So I'm going to tell you something shocking about XRP. XRP has a huge retail following, right? And XRP is going to get adopted. But currently, there's a pretty big effort out there to FUD XRP. Basically saying it's a centralized, highly volatile altcoin, which is never going to get adopted by banks. That's what the FUDsters are saying, okay? And as you can see, XRP kind of feels like it's underperforming. XRP should be at $3. Now, I'm okay with XRP underperforming right now. It's okay. Okay, let him FUD it because later on, it's going to go up. Now, in the meantime, is retail overinvested in XRP and Cardano and underinvested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana? And possibly even in like the technology portion of crypto. They're underinvested in the technology portion of crypto because Tau and I don't know, it's a meme coin and AI coin went from 175 and it doubled. That only happens when no one owns it. So you have this picture. Think about it. Everyone left. So they rage quit. Everyone who was still here was unbelievably depressed, barely holding on. That's a small number of people. Meanwhile, institutions are coming in mass. There's no seller, and no one is invested in the tech component of crypto. No one. Literally no one. I mean, again, this is a recipe for a multi-month explosion. Galaxy Digital sells 106 million ETH for Solana. So they sold the first rally in ETH. What happens if ETH goes back to 4,000 on a rope? What happens? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, no one is asking themselves these questions. Nobody is asking themselves what happened if this whole decline in crypto was BS. The whole thing was BS. People should have been thinking about this. Instead, they were thinking about winter. Winter. Coinbase Institutional. Winter. What are we thinking about? An orange Lambo. I was not a big fan of the whole Lambo talk during the last cycle. You know, when you bring out the Lambo talk, when everyone else is talking about winter. And Mike here, who I have a huge amount of respect for, I don't know why he's selling ETH and going into Solana with ETH at 1,800. Do that at ETH at 3,000. And there's nothing to stop Solana. We'll go over to TA. I mean, it doesn't, in many ways, it doesn't matter, but ETH is just dramatically oversold, right? Just dramatically. So Bitcoin is bigger than Google, and it should be. You know, these characters from Google, you know, they have an earnings problem just like every other Magnificent 7 stock, right? It's the Magnificent 8, including Bitcoin. You know, it's like when you figure out what computers are going to use as money in the future, you know why it's why Michael Saylor's talking about 13 million Bitcoin. And he just goes on these podcasts and rolls their eyes at everybody who can't pay, you know, at 77, everyone thought it was going to 72. At 80, everyone thought it was going back to 77. No one wanted to pay 85 because it was going back to 82. And at 93, everyone thinks I missed it and can't buy it. Oh, yeah, you can. I think anything under 100 is cheap. And once Bitcoin blows through 100, then it's going to stop, and then you're going to have some kind of alt season pop up. Or you may just have alt season. Alts just may go, right? Because alts are just so depressed. I don't know. I don't know how long it could take for just crypto hedge funds to get reinvested. That could take 2 months. Immutable X. Tomorrow we will announce the outcome of a multi-billion-dollar partnership that's been in the works for 2 years. And Polygon goes, Meanwhile, again, people were building. You either had coins, Skimask was one of them. You had coins that were dramatically oversold, that exploded. And then you've got the tech sector of crypto, which includes gaming, right? Finance and AI. AI, Fartcoin and all that, that was moving 4 days ago. That was moving before Bitcoin, screaming. All these legacy guys that faded Fartcoin. Fartcoin was the bottom of risk assets. They just didn't know it. Seriously. White House looking to lower tariffs on Chinese imports. Like, what's the point in mutually assured destruction? There isn't any. The only point of tariffs is to rearrange the trade situation as best as they can and try to get a couple $2 billion, which is going to wind up in Bitcoin because they're going to have to change the subject. You know, and their whole agenda is falling apart because when they showed weakness on tariffs, you know, the same people who chased Elon out are the same people who don't want to deal in Eastern Europe. Like this whole thing, like legacy. Remember how legacy, economics, stocks, bonds, currencies, problems. Yeah, it leads all the way down to Bitcoin. Actually, it should go this way, right? All the problems leads to Bitcoin. That's economics. Politics, right? Okay, here's our narrative, right? We pump the high. We pump it in January. We wreck it in February and March. We have all these problems now. We're not executing on anything. We look like goofballs. And then all that, how do we solve it? How do we solve it? How do we solve it? It all goes back to Bitcoin. It all goes back to the strategic reserve and that Bitcoin conference, you know, which I don't know. I have an affiliate link to that personally somewhere. I said it's 77K. I was like, look, you know, the only reason to buy a ticket is that there's no reason to buy a ticket. Because if there ever was, you wouldn't be able to get a ticket. You wouldn't be able to get a ticket. It's absolutely unbelievable. Okay. So let's take a look at ETH, right? Well, first of all, yeah, let's see who else is here. Grandpa Keeter in the house. Sabrina, what's up? Right? MJ hits. Tyler, Iggy tries. What's going on? By the way, congratulations to anybody who stayed. Seriously. If you stayed, you should get the reward. Log off and come back in July. Right. and then rotate from Bitcoin into other stuff. I mean, this thing, seriously, once Bitcoin gets to its new level, like once Bitcoin resets, you could have this thing just absolutely rampage. Rampage. Web3. What's Web? Let's review. What's Web3 worth this morning? That would be total altcoin market cap, right? Survey says 200-day moving average, $808 billion. And they're selling today. So good. Like personally, I think from this point forward, like when you get these 1 or 2 day dips or even these intra-day dips, you got to get on that. Web3 is not worth $800 billion. It's not. Total 2, remember, total crypto market cap without Bitcoin. So this ETH and friends, right? It's just breaking out here. You just broke out of a Lux Algo formation. And that was quite a chunky breakout yesterday. You think yesterday was a breakout? Do you need to read a technical analysis textbook to know whether or not yesterday was a breakout? I ask you. Right? Now you get a dip. It's at this Fibonacci circle line. Market had trouble with this before. Market had trouble with this up here. You get a lot of FOMO. You get a lot of emotion. Okay. Well, you know what? Again, this Fibonacci circle line, price is going to line up there. You could have a breakout. Equilibrium is like $400 billion above where we're at right now. You got to ask yourself, oh yeah, and by the way, for everybody who thought the gold trade was the end of the world, we didn't. Right? Because guess what? And I didn't bring this up at the time, but the Chinese are going to have to sell. The Chinese have more gold than anybody. We may have more gold, or so we say. The Chinese need dollars. That's why the trade thing hurt them, right? They sell stuff to us. We send dollars over there. They use those dollars in their financial system for a very specific purpose, which I won't lecture you on. They're going to have to sell. They need dollars. And this whole gold thing was the end of the world. And what happens when everyone thinks it's the end of the world? It isn't. It's a multi-month, or it could be forever. It could be the forever low. Who knows? I mean, are you ever going to see 70-something in Bitcoin? Did you see 16 again or 20 after FTX? Yeah, you can have a lot of volatility. You can have rectember and all that stuff in stocks. But what if you don't? Are people asking themselves this question? Or are people like, well, this is like a bounce. It's a bounce. It's a bear market rally. Okay. You just let people continue to think that, and I'll think about this. Seriously, right? Because again, for the people who have been here, we have been so on top of this. Now, for your amusement, Skimask dog, right? So this thing could not it couldn't take out a level. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, let's take out some levels. Let's take out some levels. Let's take them out, right? I don't have Lux Algo on this, but, this formation was like everywhere. These downward sloping wedges, right? It's like holding a basketball underwater and then you let it go and the basketball flies above the water when it comes out. That's what happened, right? Now it's probably going to come back down and retest because this is where the give up trade started from. First, it wouldn't stop going down, and now you may only wind up getting very shallow dips. Everybody's asking me, what's the entry price for SUI? I don't know, bro, but it may not last very long when you get it. SUI has got support underneath it at 265. So when you get these breakouts, right? Like SUI did the sideways breakout from these bullish formations, and then it was gone. Now you got the 200-day moving average at 274. That's probably your support point. And again, what's the 200-day moving average? What is it exactly? Okay, well, you ever heard the saying reverting to the mean? Type it into Grok or Perplexity, right? It's just a long-term, it's a metric of where ETH has been on average for the last year. Think of it that way. Like, especially maybe 9 months, right? What's the long-term average for ETH? Right now, ETH is at 1780 and the 200-day moving average is 2,500. Like, and ironically, so that's a 43% rally, by the way. And of course, I'm just going to be a total madman about this. ETH versus Bitcoin monthly. Can you tell anything has even happened here with this breakout? Nothing. Now, Bitcoin may still explode. ETH may go with it or not. This is a long-term bottom in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. We're saying ETH has no use case. Okay, well, that's kind of factored in, bro. It's back down to where it was in 2019 before the DeFi revolution. What banks are, what network are banks going to want to use? You think these guys aren't coming? They're coming. They are. They so are, right? And these are things you have to be cognizant of. I mean, even Arrow, again, doing this stuff via the 200-day moving average, 80% away from the 200-day moving average. And you know what? And we did this yesterday. There's nowhere else to do this trade, right? Dollar index at resistance, yes, but at the discount zone. So if you want to sell the dollar, and that's fine. You want to sell the dollar, you have to buy another currency. What currency is the cheapest right now? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. I mean, I know that doesn't sound exciting, but it actually is. I mean, Solana weekly, if you closed right here, actually it broke out last week. If Solana closed right here, the next level is 256. Now, I'm sure on a tactical chart, maybe if you look at a 4-hour chart of Solana, okay, so you get the 9 top. So, this could be it for the moment. But if you get a dip and it turns around and goes up like these 9s, if you go up, get a 9 top and then come down, but then if it restarts again, you got 12 or 13 more up bars. Like SUI on a daily chart, this is the dip. This thing that they're doing here at $3, that could be the dip. And here's why. Right? Same thing. You get the 9 top. So first of all, you had a 13 bottom on the 20th of April. Unbelievable 4-hour chart of SUI. I mean, it was winter, right? It was winter. It was winter, and everywhere you looked, there was support. There was the discount zone. There was the 13 bottom. There was ETH oversold. There was denial in Bitcoin everywhere. But the thing is, who cares, right? Because if you do get a dip and it holds, then SUI is going to turn around and go up like, and people are like, well, I missed out. What exactly have you missed in SUI? You haven't missed anything. SUI is back where it was at the start of March. You haven't missed a thing. Now, you may have missed some of this stupidity where everyone packed it in and gave up because the world was ending. How many times has the world ended in the last 4 months or 6 months or 12 months or 2 years? The world ends every 6 months. And then we go, why were we selling again? Oh, yeah, we sold on tariffs. And we did that in 2017. And what happened? Yep. Congratulations if you stayed. Okay, so I want to keep it short and sweet today, right? Grandpa Keeter, we appreciate you, sir. We definitely appreciate you coming in and seeing us today. All right. Can we check Tau? Yes, we can check Tau. Okay, again, the 200-day moving average at 360, there's a lot of resistance here. So another point about some of these coins is they really haven't overcome the resistance from the bear market yet. Now, could Tau stop at 350? Yeah. Right. Fetch was up dramatically off of its low. Its low was 34 cents, and now it's up to 65. It's not going to stop. It isn't, because this AI trade hasn't been done yet. They did it in NVIDIA, and that got whacked, and everybody in equities thought that every stock was an AI stock, and that's not true. Basically, adoption of AI across all companies is about 7%. Now, of course, that's going to change, but you can still trade decentralized AI in crypto, and no one cares. No one cares. Okay. All right, folks. That's it for today. Thank you for understanding about the medical thing. We will see you tomorrow, regular time.